All right, there's actually one more type of report available in Sugar, but it is sadly underutilized. Most people have never seen it or used it, including apparently Justin. I was very sad to learn. And that's called a matrix report. A matrix report lets you compare data across two categories, looking kind of like a pivot table in Excel. So you can see I've got a screenshot here, and I'm going to go open a couple of these up in Sugar to show you a little bit more about that.
I like that you clarified that it's sadly underutilized.
It is very sadly underutilized. And I'm not entirely sure why that is, other than maybe the fact that none of Sugar's default reports are matrix reports, and so people just don't realize it's out there, or they don't know how to get started with it because they've never seen it before.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Okay, so let me pick my favorite one here. This is a good one. So you can see what we're doing with a matrix report is we've got a couple of different categories that we're summarizing by. And so in some ways it's pretty similar to a summation report. When we go look at the report wizard in a minute, we're going to see it's actually on the back end the same. It's just generating a different view of that data for me. And so what this is going to show is, I can compare, for example, of all of the opportunities in the prospecting stage, how many of them fall in this existing business category versus the new business categories. And I can also do comparisons of the grand totals for any of these categories as well. Here's another one. This one is comparing how much does each user have in each sales stage. So again, it's looking at that pipeline. It's just breaking it down for me in a different way. I find that the summation report we had before is better if I'm looking for kind of overall comparing one user to another, how much do they have in their pipeline. But if I'm trying to get to the level of how much does Chris have in the prospecting stage versus how much does Jim have in the prospecting stage, this is going to make that a little bit easier for me to find versus having all of those bars kind of all stacked together on that previous view. So if we do go ahead and look at the report wizard on this, again, the steps are actually exactly the same. I'm still going to have my group bys, my display summaries, and my chart options. The matrix report does require you to have 2 or possibly 3 group bys. 3 is possible, but they usually don't look very pretty because you start to have too many subcategories happening, so I haven't really seen them used much in practice. The display summary, again, is how is it generating a number to put in that box. Same options here as we talked about before. So you can do the sum, maximum, minimum, or average of any numeric field, or you can do a count. And it is possible to have a chart in your matrix report as well. I personally don't like to have them there because I think it just becomes too much to look at. The chart appears above the pivot table when you're viewing the report. And so I really find myself just looking at the chart instead and not looking at the matrix report. But I also recognize it's probably more of a personal preference than a best practice. So, do with that as you will. And one other thing I will point out is, again, the order of the group bys does matter. The first group by is going to go on the side of your chart, and the second group by is going to go across the top of your chart.